Hello everyone, this is a bit of a vlog for myself and anyone else who's researching on using the stryd power meter and want to see what kinds of results it gives to other people. I'll show you a few things about it. I'll talk about my past history and what I'm building up to using it for at the moment. So firstly, I'm 41 years old. I started running a long time ago, but only really got into sort of racing and going to events since I was about 38. I went to do my first half marathon at the Sunshine Coast Half Marathon or Marathon Festival in 2021 and did a half marathon there. I trained for that using Garmin Coach and followed Garmin's the coach Greg McMillan, his type of runs that were prescribed in there, and it's for a time goal of an hour 40. I didn't really have much of an idea if I could achieve that. I just picked that number out of thin air. I trained through it and was able to get my first half marathon done in an hour 37. I then continued running, picked up a few injuries, Achilles type things, and then the next year I purchased myself the stryd power meter. So that was early 2022. That was the first wind power meter. And I used that to train for my next half marathon, also at the Sunshine Coast Marathon Festival. That year I got a time of an hour 34. Since then I had a year of niggles and issues where I wasn't able to run a race apart from my local park runs. And I've just got over all of those toward the end of last year. And I've just completed my first training block back, which was just a Steve Palladino general build level 3, which just means they recommend different levels of training programs to you based on your watts per kilo. Mine was in the range of recommending level 3 training to me, and I completed that. I'm in the last week of that right now, so I have just completed. Last week I completed a 10-minute test. I've just completed the 3-minute test yesterday, and at the weekend coming I have my 20-minute test coming up. I've settled on the power number of 299, which is just at the start of level 4 watts per kilo. I'm still umming and ahhing if I'm going to do level 4 marathon training. My marathon is exactly 3 months away, so it's the exact amount of time the Steve Palladino training plans go for. So come Monday I'll be starting that new plan. I just haven't decided if I'm going to stick with the level 3, which I think would be the safer option. It picks up exactly where the general build level 3 training plan left off at the next increment in all of the workouts. It continues on with alternating between 2 to 1 workouts per week with the long run, and every 3 weeks there is a test week. Every 4th week there is a test week. This is my stryd power settings at the moment. You can see when I first started the general build back in January, I manually set my CP to 275 watts because I didn't feel confident that if I did 2 weeks of testing, I didn't feel confident that I'd come out of that without any further injuries. Before that, I just did a run-walk program to return back to running, and then I commenced my training block sometime in January. I'm not sure exactly which week it was. I actually started it at level 4, knowing that previously I had the watts per kilogram to do level 4, but sometime during the general build I suffered a couple of little very minor setbacks. I went for an easy run one day and hurt my hip, but I don't believe the hip injury was related to the running or the volume or anything. So I decided, instead of trying to do my best and get the best outcome of my training plan, that I would instead, the marathon is so important to me, I've never done one before, and I tried to do it and failed last year with an injury, but instead of trying to suck the best out of myself with doing the hardest training plan, that this year I would do the bare minimum and just sort of just get by, do not the minimum, but something that was more comfortable and more achievable for myself. So I dropped it back to level 3 base building, base plan. And so at the start of that, I manually fixed my CP to 275. I picked that CP based on Garmin at the time suggested I could do a 5K in 22 minutes, and I thought that was probably about right. And I went into stryd and said manually set critical power based on 5K time trial, even though I didn't do a 5K time trial, and 275 was the number it came up with. So I manually set it to that until 4 weeks into the general build, it had my first test week. As you can see here, I took the CP off manual and put it to auto. My first run, I think, was the 10-minute test, and it brought me to 284, and then with the 10-minute test, I think it was 288, and then with my 20-minute test, I hit 291. Then another 3 months of training, 3 weeks of training followed by 2 weeks of testing and build, brought me to here, where I did, after my 10-minute test, that did not change my CP at all, even though I produced maybe 5 more watts average over the 10 minutes than my previous 10-minute test. I then ran the 3-minute test, and it brought my CP down to 289, and then that weekend my 20-minute test brought me back up to 292. So that's the, if you follow the Facebook groups, you'll often hear people calling in and complaining, I did a really good run, but my CP went down, or their CP is overestimated. It's a higher number than they should be running, and that's what's referred to as the teeter-totter effect. Over that 2-week period, expect your CP to fluctuate a little bit up and down, but at the end of it, you'll have a more accurate CP. So 292, what I came out of, and I completed my next 3 weeks of training. And then with my 10-minute test, I actually surprised myself maintaining 320 watts for the 10 minutes, and CP went up to 302. And then I've just completed the 2-minute test, 3-minute test yesterday, which I really wanted to give it my all. I hope I succeeded, because I thought that was a massive jump, going from 292 to 302 at 10 watts. Now it's only 3%. I want to make sure it's accurate. And I was able to bring it back down to 299, which leaves me just at 4.21 watts per kilo, which is just on that level 4 recommendation training plan number. So we will see. I've got the 20-minute test this weekend. I won't actually do 20 minutes. I'll go to my local park run and just basically try and, for me, a park run is just over 20 minutes, so it'll probably end up being, last one was 20 minutes and 47 seconds. I'm hoping to try and chip away at that, bring it down to maybe 20 minutes and 30 seconds or lower, and we'll see where my CP comes out at. But I'm thinking if it's at 299, I'm very, very happy with that. I haven't been at around the 300 watt mark since a couple of years now, because of my own own stupid training errors, but vowed not to make those again, although I could just feel myself making them all the time, like thinking about jumping up to level 4 could be one of those training errors. I have sought advice on the forums as to if that is a good or bad idea. 2 people chimed in that they both had success going from a level 3 build to a level 4 marathon. So we'll see. I know I'm one of the types of people who just like to run as much as possible. We'll see if I choose that. Anyway, that wraps that up. If anyone has any questions about stryd or how it's feeling for me, I absolutely love it. I think the power meter is the best way to get accurate information for your abilities. Especially, most people can't afford to do lab tests like for lactate threshold and all that kind of thing. This is just so practical, where you can go out and do a field test. You go and perform these tests yourself, and you can get the results without having to go anywhere, without spending a lot of money, and then have great recommendation or ranges to target for your training and for your races. And that'll sum it up for my first video.